Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 5 questions in about 10 minutes. And I am very excited to have as my guest today, Laurel Roach. She is the founder and CEO of TriFit Wellness out of Phoenix, Arizona. Laurel, thank you so much for being on the show today. What would you like the audience to know about TriFit Wellness and any other exciting activities you have coming up?
Well, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I am so blessed. I wake up every day and absolutely love what I do. So we are really the gym for non-gym people. That is what TriFit is all about. And maybe that can resonate with some of the folks listening. If you don't feel comfortable in a big box gym, or lost in a large class of some sort, and you don't know what you're doing, and nutrition's confusing, you are our client. You would fit in very well with us. And I'm also hosting a really, really amazing women's retreat in June at Savannah Wellness Resort here in Cave Creek. So very, very excited about that. That'll be in June. And I think you said you might be able to post that link for folks that might be interested. So that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. For the folks who are watching the video, there in the notes at the bottom of the page, we'll have that website address where you can click and go get more information if you'd like to join that retreat, because that sounds like a really cool thing. Obviously, I'm a man, so I won't intrude on that, but that sounds like a great
for this
event.
one, but it's going to be pretty spectacular. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds like a great event. So well done. All right, let's jump to our questions then. Laurel, first question, share an example or a time when you had a conflict with a coworker or another person and how you resolved it.
Well, so you had sent me these questions and I really did struggle with this one. So I'm just going to be honest. I really haven't had a whole lot of conflict. I mean, I'll kind of fall on my sword here. My very first actual job, I kind of moved up in the ranks really quickly. It was a 5 and diner restaurant, and the little 50s outfits and stuff. And so I'm 16 and I moved up through the ranks really fast. And so I'm the boss of the 40s and 50 something ladies that have worked there forever. And so I got a little too big for my britches, I think, at that point, and I actually got fired from my job. So I didn't really resolve the conflict, but I would say I learned from it, if that makes sense.
It does. And it is certainly something that can happen to anyone. And when we get a little bit outside ourselves a little
But I
bit.
demonstrated those leadership qualities young. That's what I fall back on.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being willing to share that. Question number 2, you've heard the phrase that people do not leave jobs, they leave managers. What is one suggestion that you would offer for leaders and employers to help keep their employees around a little bit longer and kind of keep them sticky?
Well, can I swear on the podcast? Is that allowed?
Depends on the word that you use.
So I would say people can smell bullshit a mile away. So just care about your people, genuinely care about them. And I think that has been the secret sauce for me, both in my executive career and then as a business owner. I really, really cared about my people, and they could sense it. And I think they'll sense it in the times where things are really a struggle, or, even when there's something personal going on with people. I think vulnerability is a superpower that a lot of leaders do not tap into because they think they have to have it all figured out. And if you share your heart with your people and you care about them, that's been my experience, that they will stay. I've been friends, they were not best friends or anything, but I think that deeper level of connection is really important with your people.
I really appreciate that comment, because genuinely caring about people is something that sometimes feels contrary or not appropriate for the workplace, but that's such an archaic notion. We really should care about all the people around us, whether they're family or coworkers or friends or neighbors or whatever they are. I love that response. So thank you so much for being willing to share that. I think that's a great way to approach it.
Sure.
All right. Question number 3, how can leaders build resilience in a team?
Well, if any time was a time to show resilience, it was in this past 2 years, right? With with the pandemic, and how, I mean, for me personally, we lost 60% of our revenue over that period of time. And, thankfully we're okay. We've bounced back and had our best month ever last month. So, made it through. But I think going back to really caring about your people, number one. And then number two, if they know the why, like if you are hiring folks that fit with your culture. And so I do a lot of personality assessments. I make sure that they are the right fit for the team, both from like a personality standpoint and that they have the right seat on the bus. So they are inclined to do that job well. So if you have that team in place and they know how their individual role contributes to the bigger why of what you're doing, they'll be able to stick out the hard times, I think, more effectively. So just real quick, if I hired employees that really weren't, that didn't care about people, so I hire employees who are high empaths. If they didn't care about people and they had a customer who was particularly difficult with them, they would handle that situation totally differently. So I think really matching the skill set and the personality set with that job, I think is really important to help people stick out and not just be there for a paycheck,
I think that's great advice. And I really support what you're saying, trying to match those personalities, because that makes a big difference. If we're able to do
Absolutely.
that successfully, it can make all the difference for some of the clients and employees for that matter.
And I've learned this through trial and error and bad hires as well.
Yeah,
So
it's part of the
yeah,
process.
right, exactly.
Very good. Question number 4. Share an example, if you would, of a time when another person made an impact in your life.
Well, I mean, I think along the road, there's always been several, that make a difference. One of those was my boss prior to owning my business. He was kind of this hipster, cool guy at a janitorial company, just like didn't really fit. And he encouraged me to have ideas. He didn't want to have a yes man on the team. He really wanted people that were going to challenge him and even tell him he was wrong at times. So we had our battles from time to time on things, and it would get a little bit intense. But I think I just really learned that leaders want ideas, and so I've encouraged my team with the same attitudes. Like, don't tell me I'm right. I don't think I'm smartest person in the room. So that was one. And then also my first coach that I hired, his name was Donnie Starkins. And I attended a retreat of his, which is why I'm excited to host my own, because it was so transformational for me. And I think you may have seen a post on LinkedIn about my sobriety. I think maybe that's how we met.
Yes.
And so I think a coach can make a tremendous amount of difference in a person's life if you are open to receiving it. And at the time, I was ready to make some changes, and I worked with this individual, and it was like, well, this is the common denominator of all this other stuff that isn't going well for you. So let's get to the root cause. And so, both of those two people were really instrumental for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for being willing to share those experiences and recognize those people. And again, congratulations on those 3 years. That's a fantastic accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah.
All
Thanks
right. Well, Laurel, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, nothing. I just said, thanks so much for having me. This is fun.
Oh, you're welcome. Last question. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
Well, my first job, I kind of alluded to there.
that was the very first one
The very first one was at Ariba Mexican Grill. I don't know if anyone has heard of that. Both of mine, now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of funny. I wore these like ridiculous outfits, like the little Hispanic, whatever, senorita outfit was the first job. And that didn't last long. It was boring for me, but I worked in restaurants all through college. So it was Ariba and then this Five and Diner. And then I moved my way up into fine dining. And that was really amazing for me because I learned so much about how to talk to people, how to deal with, like challenging personalities, because you can't tell off someone at your table that's going to be giving you a tip. Well,
Right.
I mean, you probably shouldn't, right? So much about that, and like being organized and getting along with the team. So I think that was just, everybody should work in a restaurant, in my opinion. You'll be a lot kinder to the service folks if you've done that. So yeah, a lot of experience in restaurants before my professional career.
I completely agree with your recommendation that everybody spend some time working or working as a server or something in a restaurant. I did that for a summer, and it's not easy, but I'll tell you, you do gain a lot more appreciation. However many years later, I still appreciate the fact that servers work hard.
100%. I remember one time, I just absolutely completely screwed something up. I mean, I don't know what the problem was. I had no excuse. And this man was still so kind to me, and he left me like a $400 or $500 tip.
Wow.
And this is a fine dining restaurant. And just was so gracious about it. And I just always remembered that. It's like, you really never know what somebody's going through. And so I've always just tried to be kind.
Oh, yeah, great advice. Great way to wrap up our conversation here.
Yeah.
Laurel, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
Well, my website is for the business is trifitwellness.com. And then if you're watching this and you're interested in the retreat, you'll be able to find the link for that. And then my email is just Laurel, Laurel at trifitwellness.com.
Fantastic. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We encourage you to subscribe or follow the podcast, whether you listen to it or watch it, either way. And for more information, you can go to our website, teamengagementpodcast.com. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great day. All right. I got to figure out where to stop the recording. Where did it go? Oh, I know what I did.